All of a sudden, like, my kids and I have felt like we got voted off the Brown family island.
Hello everyone, today we are talking about Sister Wives Season 18, Episode 9, where of course Robyn is the victim of being voted off of the Brown family island. Even though I can tell you as a viewer, I feel like she wasn't voted off. I feel like she's still there with Kody and Meri, and everyone else is fleeing from this island. But you know what? That's not how Robyn's going to see it, or Kody, because they are always the victims. So let's go ahead and start talking about the episode. The show starts out over at Garrison's house. Christine is visiting and cooking for Garrison, Gabe, Janelle, Savannah, and Gwendolyn as well. Christine said Truly was not going to be there for this meal because she wants it to be a chance for all of them to come together to talk about their frustrations. And let's be honest, she doesn't say flat out that they're going to talk about Kody and Robyn, but we know that frustration is really code for Kody. Christine mentions that she moved away 6 months ago and she really hasn't been in Janelle's kids' lives as much as she used to be before she made the move to Utah. But she said when she saw them at Christmas, she could tell that they were really sad. Janelle and Savannah show up first, and they arrive while Christine is cooking. And Christine catches up with Savannah while they're both cutting up some vegetables. And you guys, she flat out asks one of the questions that many of us have wondered about. You know, Brianna and Savannah go to school together. Do they socialize together? Do they talk to each other? So Christine just flat out asks how they interact at school.
Do you guys hang out together since you see
No,
each other?
I don't talk to her. We just kind of ignore each other.
Honestly, finding out that they don't talk to each other doesn't surprise me at all. This is exactly what I expect from this family. These kids are doing what they have seen their parents do. You know, to a certain extent, it feels like their dad sort of encouraged it, even though he says that he didn't. This family didn't do a good job at coming together well and living out polygamy well, so it doesn't surprise me that the kids might not talk to each other. And my instinct is to blame Kody for creating this situation between the kids, but I also think Robyn is a huge part of it. And if you don't think Robyn has a huge influence on her kids, well, I think your mind will be changed after you watch Brianna cry in this next clip.
I grew up with her. Grew up with all of them. Sorry.
Okay, so what you saw right there was Brianna crying when she was talking about her relationships with her siblings. And she was saying that it felt like during COVID, none of them cared. It reminded me a lot of Robyn when she is crying. If I did not know what kids went with what mom, I would know that she was one of Robyn's kids based on that cry. I actually stopped the show and rewatched that part like 3 times because I was surprised by how it went down. She like smiled and then she cried. It was weird. I just thought it was really strange. And I also thought her saying they didn't care during COVID was ridiculous. That right there is just a bunch of stuff that is being regurgitated from Kody and Robyn. Those girls need to move out, get their own apartment, and get away from that because it's just a weird situation. Like, I feel like I try not to nitpick at the kids because they're young adults and they're still very influenced by their parents. But Robyn's kids, I feel like, need to get out of that house. That's where I'm going to leave this. You guys can let me know your theories or let me know what you think in the comments. I just know I couldn't decide if I thought the part where she was crying was hilarious and she was faking it, or if I was actually like sort of weirded out because it was such a strange reaction. I just did not expect that to be in there. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of that. Now, I don't want to leave out the next part because I want to be fair with, what I talk about on here. There is a part where Christine asks if this is recent or it's always been this way. And she's talking about really all of the siblings. And Savannah says that she's had a hard time with the siblings that are her age, but that has started to change as she's gotten older. However, she's never been as close to Robyn's kids as she has been to Christine's kids. So it's not just that it's Robyn's kids, that she doesn't talk to. I think there's some issues with them all maintaining good, close relationships. But if you watch the show and follow on social media, you know that not all of the siblings get along that well. So I'm sure there are just relationships that aren't that good. We do get a bit of surprising news, and that is that Savannah has actually gotten to spend time with Kody. Truly was there as well during that visit, and Christine asks Savannah if it was okay that Truly was there, and Savannah says yeah. I thought it was nice of Christine to bring that up and acknowledge that Savannah was sharing her time with Truly and make sure that that was okay for future visits. Because, Kody doesn't spend much time with his kids. You would have to wonder how they feel if they're sharing that time. Christine mentions that Truly had only seen Kody over the holidays since the move. And I wondered when she said that if she was saying that to let Savannah know that it's not just her and her siblings that he's not seeing, but he actually isn't really seeing Christine's kids as well. I thought Christine may have been mentioning that so Savannah didn't feel like it was personal, but kind of to, point out that Kody's failing everyone. It's not just you, Savannah, and it's not just your brothers. And then Savannah, she throws in this.
Because it's been so long that he's been absent that I don't even notice.
She's going to finish that by saying, I don't even realize that he's not around. And I don't think viewers are going to be surprised by this, right? We know that he doesn't spend time with his kids. The older kids were saying that Kody wasn't around as much back when they moved to Vegas. So when their homes all got separated, the kids immediately said Kody wasn't around. And that was years ago and houses ago. Kody being absent has only gotten worse, so I don't think it's surprising that the kids are used to him not being around. After this, we move over to Parowan, Utah to see Meri at the B&B with Jen. They are moving everything, and that, I shouldn't have said Jen. Jen, she's not drinking. There's not a bottle of gin. Meri is there with Jen. They are moving everything out of the carriage house to make room for Meri's business. Honestly, guys, she seemed really happy being there. In the last video I made, I mentioned Meri selling her house because I was hoping she would have some money and I was worried she would give it to Kody. And a few of you corrected me, she rents. And that was brought up in this video. I had forgotten about the whole house rental debacle Meri had when she first got there to Flagstaff. But once you guys reminded me, I remembered it. And it's sort of a shame, really. I wish Meri did have a house to sell. But again, I think Kody and Robyn would just try to find a way to get the money that she would have made from the sell. So at this point, maybe it's good that she doesn't because Meri is still there with Kody at this point. I think she would give the money to him. Meri says that she got the big house in Flagstaff because she wanted to host family holidays and for her business. Well, now her business isn't there, and she points out there's no family holidays that she's hosting. So she might as well get a smaller house. Now, while Jen and Meri are there at the carriage house doing stuff, Sean, which is Jen's husband, is doing some projects as well. And Meri says, this is something she has not experienced in years. Kody does not help her do any projects anymore, and she pretty much lives independently. And so she is liking that Sean is there helping Jen and helping them. I wonder how much this might play a role in Meri finally deciding to leave. If she sees Jen having a healthy relationship with someone that is committed to her, I wonder if that's going to motivate her to finally leave. So as they're there working in the carriage house, Meri asks Jen and her husband Sean how they feel about polygamy. And Jen jokingly asks Sean if she is his favorite wife. So she looks at her husband as like, am I your favorite? And they're joking, of course, because that's his only wife. But this opens the door in the show for there to be confessionals with the members of the Brown family talking about favoritism. Of course, Meri, Christine, and Janelle say there can't be favoritism in a polygamous family for it to work. Robyn was conveniently left out of all the confessionals, but there is a part where Kody talks about it. He talks about favoritism, and I want to put in what he says.
In plural marriage, if a man has a favorite wife, it really has to do with loyalty, that he feels her loyalty, that he feels that she's loyal to him.
That was definitely not the way that Kody talked when the show first started. He's not even denying anymore that he has a favorite. He didn't deny it when they brought up favoritism. He didn't say that, if you're a polygamous husband, you shouldn't have a favorite. He's just justifying it now. He's managed to find an excuse for his behavior that he thinks is acceptable enough to say publicly. He thinks that he has now found a good excuse for why Robyn is his favorite wife. Now, after this, we move over to Garrison's house, and we find out that Gabe and Gwen are moving in with Garrison. This was brought up in the last show, and it's being brought up again in this episode. Christine thinks this is a bad idea. She just says that they are all too different. Now, Janelle is a bit more optimistic about it. So they all get together and they all sit down to eat. Now, at this point in the show, Gwen isn't actually there, and she doesn't actually show up until they're eating dessert. So at the table is Janelle, Christine, Garrison, Gabe, and Savannah. We find out that Truly is actually at Kody's while this is happening. Christine mentions that Truly thinks that she has a great relationship with her dad, which is good. You know, we want Truly to be happy with her relationship with her own father. But I do think when Truly is older, she's going to realize how messed up all of this is. But if she's happy right now, then good for her. Christine talks about how she felt like it was necessary to move to Utah to preserve the relationship that Kody and Truly had. And you know what? It sounded weird at first, but it also makes sense. Truly thinks she has a good relationship with her father, but the longer she stayed there and the older she got, the more likely it was that she was going to have experiences that made it clear that her father preferred other children. You know, I think Christine moved away so there was some distance to prevent that from happening as much as it was going to if they stayed there. Instead of her realizing her dad was choosing to be absent and distant from her, it's now something that actually makes sense because there is literally physical distance between her and her father. So it gives him an excuse for not seeing her in some ways. Now, Kody, of course, he disagrees with this.
By taking her away from me and just preserving it. That's such BS rationalization.
I don't actually know if Christine did the right thing. I don't think we'll ever know until Truly's older and she can talk about it, at least the part about moving for her. I think Christine made the right decision for herself and her other kids. I don't know if she did the right thing for Truly. I don't think we'll know until Truly is older, but I'm not at all surprised that Kody can't understand why Christine made that decision, because Kody doesn't make decisions that don't benefit him. Back at the dinner table, we find out that Gabe and Garrison haven't talked to Kody, and honestly, that doesn't surprise me, and probably not any of you. But during this time, it is also brought up that Kody gives preference to his minor children. That is something we've heard Kody talk about, the children of a tender age, and Janelle confirms it during a confessional. She says what a lot of you have actually said in the comments of my videos. Kody has a better relationship with the children because he has more influence over what they do, and they don't argue with him or challenge him. But the adult children can challenge him on things. And a lot of you have said that in the comments. That was a big thing a lot of you have pointed out to me. Then in the middle of all of this, there is a confessional with Robyn where she says something that annoys me. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here. This is what Robyn has to say.
Before all the hurt feelings that happened through COVID, Kody's relationship with his older children, a lot of them were really, really good.
So according to Robyn, before COVID, Kody's relationships with the kids were great. Everything was good. And then she has to throw in this.
Christine left and all that changed.
You know, she says everything was fine before COVID, but then she says it was Christine leaving that was the problem. Everything changed after Christine left. No, what happened before COVID and Christine leaving was COVID happened. And I do not think COVID was the start of the problems for this family, but I think it exposed everything. COVID gave Kody an excuse for being a bad father. He thought he could actually justify why he wasn't there for his kids and his wives. But that excuse just didn't cut it. And when it didn't cut it for Christine and she left, I think everyone else started realizing they didn't want to live that way too, and they deserved more. So no, it wasn't Christine leaving that was the problem. It was Kody Brown that was the problem. But I think this is that thing that makes Robyn the favorite wife, right? Kody said it earlier. It's all loyalty. So she has to say it was Christine. She is showing her loyalty to Kody, and she is going to be the favorite wife. But what she doesn't realize is in the end, she's going to be the only wife. So, I mean, she needs to think about this. And then she is going to have a miserable human as her husband. That is the prize at the end of this. Back at the dinner table, Garrison talks about how much his own life has changed. You know, he's doing some very adult things. He's, buying a house. He's got a new car. He's making big decisions, things that he might have normally called his dad about. His life is changing, and Kody knows nothing about it because, according to Garrison, Kody doesn't care. But Kody, during a confessional, has a rebuttal for that.
And I reached out to them after. No, they're blocking me. They're not interested in talking to me.
So the boys are saying that Cody's not, he doesn't care about them and he's not reaching out. But then Kody is saying, yes, I did. I did before Christmas and I did after Christmas. They're blocking me. So that is Cody's excuse. If what he's saying was true, and I have no clue if it was or not, but let's say it was, that means over a span of several months, Kody reached out a few times. If what he's saying is true, is it possible that he did that and they blocked him or don't want to respond to him? Sure, maybe they're done. Maybe they're like, we don't want the ups and downs of a relationship with our dad right now. But the one thing that I feel certain about is that if, and it's a big if, Kody really did try, it was low effort. I don't think he was going to sit and call his kids multiple times or send text. It was low effort from Kody Brown because he isn't going to try hard to be around other people, and he does not take rejection well. So I just do not think he's made a lot of attempts to call his kids. Now at this point, they are all done eating, but they haven't had dessert yet, and then Gwendolyn arrives. And so they break out the pie and they start talking about the Christmas gift exchange texting fiasco. And that is where we finally get more information about this. We find out from Garrison that the family's done the gift exchange for 20 years. And we find out from Christine that Aspen had started this text thread that included the mothers. But it's really Gwendolyn that gives us a lot more details about the texting. She says that Robyn wanted to do it all over Zoom, and everyone thought that was very impersonal. So this was not something the kids wanted to do. They didn't want to do a Zoom call or a Zoom meeting to do the Christmas gift exchange. So I'm going to put a clip in of Gwendolyn talking here.
And then Robyn made it all about herself and mentioned something about trauma, how there's a bunch of past trauma, which, by the way, where's the trauma coming from?
So basically, Robyn suggests the Zoom meeting. The kids don't like it. And then Robyn says she's being disrespected and brings up trauma. And it sounds like things really went south with how Robyn responded to them not wanting to do her Zoom meeting and go with her idea. There ends up being a confessional where Robyn says when she entered the family, she wanted them all to accept her and her kids. It wasn't really just about Kody. Like, she wanted everyone to accept them, but she didn't feel like she got a lot of support when she tried to do that. And for me, I think this setup from the beginning was never going to work. I've talked about this before. I don't think the way the family brought Robyn in and how they didn't live together they were never going to be close. It just wasn't set up for that. So Robyn saying she didn't have support, I don't think there was a way for it to happen. Logistically, there was no room in the home they lived in for Robyn and her kids to come join them. So she got to live in her own house and take the kids' dad away from them to be with other kids. It just wasn't set up to work. So she's saying she didn't get support. I don't know what more she wanted from them. It just wasn't set up to work very well. But I'm not going to go back and talk about the beginning years. I'm going to stay focused on this Christmas texting. So basically, once they reject her Zoom idea and there's accusations of disrespect, just a bunch of things got said that we don't really know because they don't give us that many details, but things were said that they can't really go back from. And unfortunately, I can't put in more scenes about the Christmas texting for copyright reasons. But I did want to put in a clip of Brianna and Aurora talking.
We had learned that there were some very strong negative feelings towards us coming from some of the siblings.
So how did they learn that? Who told them that? She says, we learned that. Did the siblings say something to them? I'm not under the impression during any of this that those kids sitting at that table, Garrison, Gabe, Gwendolyn, Savannah, any of those kids have any issues with Aurora, Brianna, and Dayton. Like, they actually talk about how they miss them. So I don't know where they got this idea that the kids didn't like them or don't want to be around them, except if it came from Kody and Robyn. So are Kody and Robyn just putting those thoughts in their heads?
We also learned that they were planning on having Christmas without us, without saying anything to us.
I just like how they learn all this stuff and we know who they're learning it from, which it's unfortunate that these kids talk so little to their siblings that they don't know about holidays and things directly from them. They have to hear about them from Kody and Robyn. You know, think about that. These aren't little kids. They're actually adult children. They should be talking to each other, but, you know, they're not. So all the information they get is from Kody and Robyn. Who knows what these girls think? I just wish they would get their own place. Like, I wonder what they would be like if they were out of this house. But you can tell here, Kody and Robyn have put stuff in their heads. After this, we find out that Robyn told Mykelti and Logan that she was no longer talking to any of the other kids and that her children would not participate in the gift exchange. Garrison is the one who shares that, and he says it during a confessional, and he also says that it really hurts. You know, I think they miss having a connection with their dad and their other siblings. They grew up with Aurora, Brianna, and Dayton. Even though they weren't in the same house, they were still a part of their lives in some way. And just hearing, like, you're no longer spending a major holiday with us, I think this is the kind of thing that does really, really hurt. And I think Garrison knows that that is just another thing that's severing his relationship with his father. So I think there's two angles there. One, the gift exchange, but then the other, you know how Kody is about loyalty. This is just another thing that's going to mess up that relationship with his dad. Now, while they're sitting there at the dinner, they continue to talk about Robyn.
She is the catalyst of all this to make Dad exclusive and then turning herself into the victim.
So I chopped that up a little bit so you can hear all of it together. But basically, Garrison blames Robyn for most of what happened. You know, he sees her as being the one that made it happen, and then she's acting like a victim in the end. He believes that she wanted Kody to just be with her, and so that's what happened. I agree with that. I do believe that Robyn was manipulating things to work out well for herself, but I hold Kody a little bit more responsible than I think the kids do right now. Kody is an adult, and according to him, he's the head of the household. He's all about patriarchy, right? So he is the one messing this up. He should be able to say, no, that doesn't work, Robyn. I have 13 other kids that I need to go see, so I can't just quarantine in your household. And the quarantining doesn't work for a polygamous family. But like, he never did that. At some point, he is responsible too. So I get that Robyn, I do agree, manipulated things, and she does try to play the victim, but I also think Kody is responsible for how he has failed his children and his wives. However, I do think with these kids, they feel a lot of loyalty to their mothers. So I imagine if I was in their position, I would be blaming Robyn more. I think it's easier to feel the way I feel standing on the outside than it would be to be one of the kids and have like a mother that was married to someone doing this. I don't know. I think my opinion is the way it is because I'm on the outside watching this show. A lot is said at this dinner, but I don't think there's anything that would surprise a viewer of this show. You know, they talk about how Robyn likes to be the victim, how she cries when things are brought up. Garrison believes that Robyn used the COVID rules to make Kody just be exclusive and with her. Garrison also says that he's done with Robyn. He just doesn't care anymore. And Gwendolyn agrees, but she points out that even though she doesn't care, it still hurts. And during most of this, Janelle and Christine really let the kids talk and they just sit back and listen. But then there's the confessional where Kody says this.
I don't want to be around you. And I'm tired of it. And I don't want to call them and I don't want to talk to them.
I don't use the word disgusted very often, but I was disgusted when I watched him say that. Kody has been on this show for 18 seasons. He knows this stuff will get back to his kids at some point, even if they don't watch the show regularly. He knows this is going to get back to him, and he chose to say that. What a joke. Like, the dude is just a terrible person. And, you know, there's a part of this where Garrison is sitting at the table talking to Janelle and Christine and his siblings, and he says, and I think Christine asked him, would you sit down and talk to Robyn? And Garrison says, no, because I don't have the emotional maturity to do that. Kody doesn't have the emotional maturity to acknowledge that he doesn't have the emotional maturity, because if he did, this would have been a moment in his life where he needed to practice some self-control and say, you know what, I'm not going to go on a show that's aired out to the whole world and tell everyone I don't want to talk to my kids. This was the time Kody needed some self-control. I just was disgusted. Like, what kind of parent does this? He could have, this whole thing, if he wanted to express that he's not in a place to talk to his kids, he could have said, right now, I'm not in a good place with my kids, and I probably shouldn't talk to them at this time until I've worked out other things. I could have understood him saying that right now. I don't agree with him saying it, but that would have been acceptable. But the way he talked about his kids, to me, was just disgusting. I was very shocked. I don't know why, but I was very shocked that Kody actually said that. Now, at this point, Gabe has been sitting at the table and he hasn't said much. Christine ends up asking him how he's doing. Gabe shares that when he is on campus, he actually sees Aurora and they talk. He says that she is the only one on that side of the family that has said, I love you. And there ends up being a confessional with Aurora and Brianna at this point. And Aurora says that Gabe has been nothing but kind to her when they see each other. And there's also a confessional with Garrison where he says that even though he's not going to pursue a relationship with Robyn and his siblings, you know, on that side of the family, he always has open arms. They can always come to him and participate in the gift exchange, and he would welcome them back in his life, but he's not going to go chasing those relationships. And that is where the dinner ends. So you guys have to let me know what you thought about that. I think for me, that's what I've been wanting. Like, we have the opportunity to see Gwendolyn talk about things on her YouTube and Patreon. Mykelti is out there talking. We've heard from Peyton. I think this was nice, them all sitting together. I also want to know, what did you guys think of the part where Gwendolyn says that Kody doesn't love her, and then Savannah starts to respond, but like Garrison starts to shut it down? Like, did you notice that part? There was a part of me that thought he was just doing it to sort of protect Savannah and not have her, you know, saying a lot that she might regret later. That was what I thought. But you guys, let me know what you thought about that part of it, if you caught it. And let me know what you thought about the whole thing. But let's move on to the second part of the show. So if you're still with me, thank you. I promise the next part is going to be so much faster because it just didn't have as much to it. After this, we go over to Kody's house. Mykelti and Tony have taken Avalon over there to celebrate her first birthday, and they're having a little celebration for her. Kody talks about how Mykelti has stayed close to him and Robyn, and Kody also says that Robyn and Tony get along really well, and Robyn confirms it. She talks about how much she likes Tony. Next, we see Christine get together with some friends and Janelle. They're all going out to dinner to celebrate Christine's old wedding anniversary. So really, it's not as much a celebration as just a dinner to show support for Christine. And this is good for Janelle as well, because she says that she needs friendships. You know, she's there in Flagstaff and now Christine is gone. These women are there in Flagstaff. So hopefully, hopefully Janelle can make some friends that are outside of her family and the polygamist world. Now, while Christine is sitting there, Kody does call her, and they show us a confessional where Kody says he was calling Christine because he heard that she was in town and he wanted to have Truly come over. But Christine doesn't answer, and honestly, it would have been really impolite if she did. They were in this very small room. It just would have been really awkward to answer your phone. So she doesn't answer it, but Kody says he was calling for Truly. You know, the dinner is just a really nice dinner where they chat about life and their marriages and divorces and how their husbands are with their kids and their exes are with their kids. You know, it was one of those things where it kind of felt like a little bit of filler stuff for the show, but I kind of enjoyed it too. Like, it's nice to see Janelle and Christine sitting with women who aren't in the polygamist world, who aren't really there to judge them and ask like judgy kind of questions, but just women who are friends with them talking about what their marriages were like. I did enjoy it. But during this time, while all this is happening, there ends up being a confessional where Kody says something that made me furious. Like, if you watch the show, when Kody said this, I'm sure there were so many of you that were like yelling at the TV like I was. He just doesn't stop. He always has a way of saying something that he didn't need to say. There was no reason to say this, even if he felt that way. It's not helping him out. It's not helping anyone. It's just making us all not like him. But I'm going to go ahead and put in the clip here so you guys can hear it.
Christine forced herself into my life. She basically just insisted that we be married. I don't care that she's leaving. You know, I mean, it hurt initially, but I'm fine.
There was absolutely zero reason for him to say that. He is just a miserable human being. He's talking about the mother of his kids, and there is no benefit to him saying this. He did not prove anything. She wasn't saying otherwise. It wasn't like Christine was saying, oh, Kody begged me to marry him. She wasn't saying that. So there was no reason for him to even bring this up. He could have simply said, you know, I'm at a place where I'm okay with that, with Christine leaving. I wish she wasn't talking about me, because that is what he says next. After he says that line about, you know, Christine forcing the marriage, he says, I'm over it. I wish she would quit talking bad about me to my kids. He could have said that without talking crap about Christine first. He's just the worst. He has no consideration for what other people might feel when they watch the show. And that is sort of the end of this. The dinner comes to an end. I was happy Christine didn't spend the day alone. I hope Janelle made some new friends there. I thought it was a pretty good episode. It was different than the other ones we've seen. I know I've wanted to hear more from the kids, so I was happy with it. But, of course, I always like to know what you guys thought as well. So go ahead and leave me comments. I love reading them. I don't always get to respond, but I love that there's a community where we can all share our opinions. So go ahead and do that below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click like and subscribe.